Okay, have you ever just looked around and felt like our global systems are, well, broken? Like there's a serious glitch in the software that's supposed to be running our planet? We're about to dive into a wild story that kicks off with a massive market crash, but lands on a truly radical plan for a planetary reboot. So let's get into it. Let's explore this ambitious idea to fix the glitch in our global OS.
So, picture this. The date is January 29th, 2026. And no, this isn't some far-off sci-fi future. This is recent. You can practically still feel the shockwaves. The US market opens, and in a blink, everything just changes.
You know, the financial news site CryptoSlate put it perfectly. They said it was the kind of flip where you stop looking for clever explanations and start checking how much margin you actually have. That's not a slow dip, right? That is a gut punch. It's that moment where all the fancy theories and predictions go right out the window and you're just staring at your wallet thinking, oh no. And in what felt like a single heartbeat, over $800 million in long positions, poof, completely wiped out. This wasn't just people selling off stocks. This was a brutal, brutal liquidity crisis. A forced deleveraging, which basically means people were desperately forced to sell whatever they could just to pay off their debts. And it caught almost everybody completely off guard. This is where all the financial textbooks got thrown out. See, normally when things get scary, investors run to so-called safe haven assets, right? They buy up gold. But on this day, the old rules just didn't apply. Everything, and I mean everything, was in a nosedive. Stocks, crypto, even the safe bets like gold and silver. It was a mad dash for one thing and one thing only: cash. This wasn't just a loss of faith in one asset. It was a loss of faith in the entire system. So a crash like that, where confidence in everything evaporates, that's the symptom. But what's the actual disease? Well, to figure that out, we have to diagnose the root cause. And according to the source material we're looking at, the problem goes way deeper. It's a flawed global operating system, one that's running on what it calls a scarcity mindset. And this image just nails the core idea. On the left, you've got the world we know, driven by that scarcity mindset. It's a reality defined by conflict, by waste, by constantly taking and extracting. But then on the right, you see the potential, an abundance reality, a world of renewal and shared prosperity. Right now, we're stuck in this chaotic transition, somewhere between the two.
And this right here is the glitch. Just look at this. On the left, you see our global resources: energy, water, food. We actually have them in abundance. So the problem isn't that we don't have enough stuff. The problem, as you see on the right, is in the delivery system. Our global software for access, for justice, for basic fairness, it's critically broken. We've got the hardware for a better world, but the OS is a mess.
So what's the actual source code for this glitch? The source material calls it the ego trap. It's this deep-seated belief that there isn't enough to go around, that for me to win, you have to lose. It's a global zero-sum game. And when you build systems on that foundation, you get what we have now: systems that extract value instead of creating it, which leads directly to the kind of meltdowns we just talked about. Okay, so if the problem is a busted operating system, what's the fix? You don't just apply a patch and hope for the best, you do a full-on reboot. And this proposal lays out what it calls a clear, repeatable path to installing a brand new OS for the entire planet. Let's see how this reboot is actually supposed to work, because it's designed to build from the ground up. The protocol, it looks like it's called Ultimate Soul, starts small and then scales. Step 1 is about stabilizing an individual's personal health. From there, you expand to restoring the land, then to building sustainable farms, and finally to creating totally self-sufficient communities that run on a resource-based economy. So what does this new operating system actually look like? This isn't just a philosophical idea. We're talking about a tangible system with real hardware and real software, all designed to create and share abundance. So first, meet the hardware, the RQ-18. Think of it like a self-sustaining habitat in a box. It's a modular unit designed to provide the 4 essentials for life: clean air, water from the atmosphere, food, and shelter. But it's also a micro-refinery and a connectivity hub. And get this, for scale. The goal is to deploy 8 million of these units. That's enough to serve the entire global population of 8 billion people. And here's the software that makes it all hum: Genie. Now, this is not your typical AI. Most AI is basically a logistics engine. It's focused on the what and the where. Genie is described as an intent engine. It starts with who. It looks at the person, their purpose, their context, and then it helps map a path for them to thrive. And it's all guided by a really simple protocol. Do no harm, do good if you can, and if you're not sure, just ask. But you're probably asking, how do you pay for all this? Well, the economic engine behind it is honestly kind of brilliant. It turns a massive problem into the solution. Step 1. You take our biggest liability, garbage, and you start treating it like a resource mine. Step 2. You process that waste using high-efficiency gasification. It's a clean process that uses heat to break it all down without creating toxins. And the output? 2 things: clean energy and a whole new form of value, asset-backed tokens. And this new value is fundamentally different from the old system. Legacy wealth is mostly built on debt and paper promises, a total house of cards, as the source calls it. This new currency, bQION, is backed by real stuff. Its foundation isn't a promise, it's a tangible, edible asset. And this is the key. Each token is pegged to the real-world value of one 400-calorie meal. And it's all legally backed by a real estate investment trust. This thing is designed for stability, not for wild speculation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little like science fiction, maybe a bit far-fetched. But the source material actually grounds this whole vision in a very real, multi-generational story. This isn't some idea that just popped up overnight. It's apparently the result of a century of work. The story actually starts all the way back in 1932 with a Dr. Paul Goldstein. As a child survivor of a broken system, he dedicated his whole life to understanding that ego trap. Then, decades later in 1985, his son David, a computer genius, started building the actual technology to fix it. This all led to a huge moment in 2022, with the signing of the Triad Accords with global authorities, including the Vatican. And today, in 2026, it's the grandson, Avi Goldstein, who's leading the global rollout. So how in the world does a plan this huge actually get off the ground? Well, it proposes a really radical shift in how the public gets involved. The idea is to convert all of that passive digital energy, the likes, the shares, the online outrage we call selectivism, and turn it into actual active equity, a real stake in this new system. And the way you get involved is basically gamified to make it easy for anyone to join. At level 1, the Slacktivist, you can become a fractional owner of this future for just $1. Level 2, the member, costs $18, which represents the value of one of those asset-backed meals. And from there, you can even become a guardian, a hands-on, mission-driven builder of this new world. And this really brings us to the ultimate question. It almost sounds crazy to say it out loud, but the whole model is built on this idea. Could a single dollar, your dollar, actually help fund a planetary reboot? Could it be the seed money for a complete BIOS update for Earth 2.0? This system is designed to say, yes, it can. So when you boil it all down, what we're really looking at is a massive attempt to take an ancient promise, a promise of peace and prosperity, and compile it into new code. It's a fusion of timeless wisdom and cutting-edge tech, and it's asking all of us a very simple question. Are we going to keep scrolling, or are we going to start building?